Hey, what's up, guys? Tukey here, back again with another episode of my Carolina Hurricanes franchise mode series right here at NHL 19. And today, hopefully, the Carolina Hurricanes are ready to make it back to the playoffs. Hopefully, about as eager as they are to lose to the Bruins in the Eastern Conference Final, right? Yeah, we're all hoping for that. Yeah. Anyway, that's a whole different topic. Today, we begin yet another season. Again, last year's outright disaster of a season, missing the playoffs, sets the stage for a very important year to come. Now, we left the last episode on the back of trading Laurent Brossoit. We are also still in a position where we have to trade Adam Fox, we have to trade Nick Backstrom, and we're trading one of three defensemen, along with those two, that being either Slavin, Bean, or Fabro. And spoiler alert, we'll reveal it now, you guys voted to get rid of Slavin. So it will be Slavin, Backstrom, and Fox that we look to move out to begin this episode. And then we'll get into the goal for the season. So let's see what we got here. Now, as far as how this is going to go down, what we're getting in return, I have no idea. It's probably going to be relatively difficult to pull off these deals. Although, again, Slavin and Fox, they do provide us a decent return. And I think, yet again, we are going to try and take a look at the very least who is on the block right now, just to make the most of the value that we're getting back. And if there's nobody there, maybe we target draft picks, maybe we target somebody else. Jeff Skinner, 4 years left at 7-7. Is he a first-line guy? If so, nope, he can't join. We have no space for him whatsoever. Brody Hamonic, Giordano, none of them would help the current situation. Is there, I was hoping to see a half-decent prospect on the block. I mean, really, a prospect right now, or a group of prospects, is what I'd like to get in return. And looking here, second-round picks aplenty. Simon Robertson was a first-round pick. You know, Detroit could work. I'm not sure how good half of them are, unfortunately, but we'll keep Detroit in mind. There's no way Ty Ratty's value is actually that good. There is no way. The big-time downside, of course, to Fog of War being on is if we don't have any of these players scouted, we kind of have to go off of current name value, like Bowen Byram, for example, on the block, which is kind of shocking. He's also listed as a top 6 defenseman. So, I mean, technically I could go after Byram, but that would result in us having to trade Caden Fleury as well. Or not, Hayden Fleury, not Caden Fleury. The good thing is, though, he just signed a ZLC, and he's a top 6 guy. I think Bowen Byram in Minnesota is going to be a big-time target for us here. I didn't expect to make yet another change to the defense, but it might not be a bad way to go. Whereas, say, Ty Smith is still minor league top 2, so that's probably not ideal. They have Tyconic and Middlestad as well. Caden Nolan was a first-round or a fifth-round pick. Boakvist, a fifth-round pick. I completely mixed up those two. Don't worry about it. But is there anybody of extremely high value here? It's not really looking like it. I think Minnesota is going to be our best bet. Although Trevor Zegras in Philly, I think, has to be a target as well. Byram and Zegras, that's a decent way to go if these trades make sense for these teams. And Jesus, Pietrangelo is still on the block as well. St. Louis is just done. They're wanting to blow it up. And that could provide an interesting option for us. Jonathan Taves ends up going to Vancouver, and they want to get rid of him. Why the hell did you bring him in then? And then Martin Ferivari there. Okay, so I think we kind of know our options. I mean, Jamie Drysdale I talked about a couple of times, but I mean, man, Bowen Byram is in an even better situation. So I guess the big question here is with the Wild, do you need a Nick Backstrom or do you need some defensive help? And the answer is absolutely not, or absolutely no in terms of defensive help. What about the forwards? Do you need any help on that front? You could use a top-line guy. You have too many goddamn forwards for their own good, but you could technically use a top-line guy. You have cap space as well. We may have just found a landing spot for one Nick Backstrom. And to get somebody back like Bowen Byram in return would be a pretty damn good pickup, I have to be honest. So, again, we don't know how good he is for sure, but I think Byram and a top-notch draft pick, that sounds pretty good to me, because I'm not sure if there's anybody else here who's half decent. Renz is a 4th rounder, and we know nothing about him. Yeah, I think Byram's the only safe bet there. Do they have draft picks? They do. Bowen Byram and a 1st for Nick Backstrom. I'd be content with that if they are. Again, I'm only allowed 1 draft pick back to avoid pick hoarding. Will that go through? It will not. So Byram's value is quite high. But we could throw in, let's just say we throw in an Anaheim 5th. How close are we now? Wow, it's not close. So Byram's value right now is through the roof, is what you're telling me. So how about the 2nd round pick? Byram and a 2nd for Backstrom? That seems like not very much, but if Byram's already a top 6 defenseman at 20 years old, just signed to ZLC, it could be looking pretty damn good. He had 74 points in the W last year, so he's jumping straight from junior to the pros. I'd be fine with this. Again, there's not too many options that we have, not too many landing spots. That is accepted. So Nick Backstrom has been dealt to Minnesota in exchange for Bowen Byram and a 2nd round pick. So we are putting a lot of faith into one Bowen Byram right now. But I think I'm all right with that. And we'll probably, again, go with either Hayden Fleury, who just signed a new deal, or we keep Luke Martin. One of the two. It depends on whether or not we think Martin's going to be any better. So we know Slavin's gone. And then we know between Fleury and Martin that one of those two have to go. And then obviously in the future, we're going to have to decide between Bean, Fabro, and Byram. So I know that's a factor coming up, of course. But in terms of like top-notch forward prospects, I think like Trevor Zegras, who we should still be able to get anyway, is the way to go. So, I mean, it's going to cause a bit of a log jam defensively anyway, because we're stuck with Hamilton and Falk. But keeping the best 2 out of Bean, Fabro, and Byram, and then flipping the other one for some forward help or another defensive prospect, that's not a bad way to go. So I think we're good on that front. And again, Hayden Fleury, let me take a look here, had 8 points last year. He's not going to be a big point guy. I mean, he had 18 points last year in a full season. He hits, he blocks, the giveaway takeaway ratio hasn't always been great. And then Martin is scheduled to, I mean, he's a rookie this year. Doesn't hit as much, blocks quite a few shots. The giveaway takeaways aren't looking that great. Had 20 points last year in the AHL. I mean, Fleury, again, 2 years at 2.25. That's not too bad. We know what we're getting with him as a 3rd pairing guy. And then Martin would obviously be like the cheap 1-year option, which might not be the worst way to go in terms of have him for the year, but I don't know if guys like Romanoff and Salo are ever going to jump up. So, kind of a tough spot to be in. I'm not going to make that decision yet, just because we have other people that need to be moved, and that's kind of the lesser of the decisions that have to be made. And then, man, don't I hope Alex Nedeljkovic is the guy that we need him to be this year. So Slavin and Fox still need to go, and it might take a little bit of time to find the perfect match here. I mean, I highly doubt that we're able to trade the 2 of them together. That seems so unlikely. Wallmark, of course, was on this team at one point. Sven Havlid, we don't know how good he is. Florida, similar situation with a lot of guys where we just don't know how good they are. Al Bird is a great name, but we don't know how good he is. So I think we look back at Detroit with Robertson, or it was Philadelphia, right? With Zegras? Yes, it was. So, I mean, German Rubtsov is there. Mika Jokela, 4th round pick. Ratcliffe, a 2nd rounder. Tulipov is also a 1st rounder. Okay, so we might be able to get something going here with Philly. It just depends on whether or not they need defensive help, and right now that's looking a little bit shaky. They do. They do. At least one top 4 defenseman. They don't have a depth defenseman, so I could argue trading both of them, and then they'd have McNabb or Morin as a depth option, and Morin is on depth option money. It's kind of pushing it, but I think I could justify it. The issue is they don't have much cap space, and fitting Slavin would be a little bit difficult. But if they have any forwards on expiring deals, so it's like we could take back Michael Raffl and Tambellini. They're not making that much, though, and then obviously like Claude Giroux isn't going to happen at all. But say I want Zegras and say I want Tulipov. Those would be the top two. Would there be a way to make this happen? I don't think there would be. I think I could trade them Adam Fox, but in terms of, sending them Slavin, they just don't have the space. There is no way, especially with like how valuable Sean Couturier is. That's an amazing contract for him too. Yeah, we're stuck. So I can deal them Adam Fox. That is about it. I'll try to get back Trevor Zegras. I don't know if value-wise I'm going to be able to get this to work. There's no way this is going to go through. But it's worth a try. We trade Fox, we get Zegras and a draft pick back. That's not a bad way to go. But the question is, how valuable is Trevor Zegras? And we have our answer. It's relatively high. I mean, Adam Fox might not even be fair value for him 1-for-1. And is he? He is, but they don't want the cap with Fox being an RFA. So Philly's not going to work. Even though they have two options that I'd love to pick up, the Flyers aren't going to work. They don't have the space. So for Pittsburgh, do you have anybody who was a high draft pick? Not really. I'm thinking Winnipeg right now with Jamie Drysdale. As unfortunate as that would be, having to pick up two defensive prospects, at least they would be two top-notch defensive prospects. Because I can't guarantee guys like Lack and Garlock are worth trading for. Not at all. But I do know Jamie Drysdale, of course, his rating and everything, his potential. Whether or not right now he's looking like he's going to reach that, I don't know. But we'll see if Winnipeg needs help defensively. Because, again, I got to make sure I'm not screwing over these teams by giving them players they don't need. And, again, the same justification can be made. I think at the very least one Winnipeg defenseman, and then you run... I know they have a couple of depth options, but, you run like Sami Niku or Madison Bowie as a third-line guy. I think that justification can be made to deal them Adam Fox, maybe, or Slavin for that matter. And I think it would probably take Slavin more than Fox to get this deal done. Not to mention, I had a feeling that would push them over the cap, though. Do they have anybody? Because I saw Dustin Byfuglien, and he's getting old, and I was thinking, of course, Adam Fox could be that replacement. Do they have a cheap cap option? They have Byfuglien, but he's still a third-pairing guy, and we can't afford to take him back. I mean, we could have him for like a season. It'd be a little bit of a nightmare to have Byfuglien and Byram as our third pairing this year. That could technically be the way to go, and might not be the worst idea in the world if it results in us getting Jamie Drysdale. I think that's going to happen. If we can't use Fox to get Drysdale, we'll use Slavin and we'll take back Byfuglien. If that's enough to make it happen. So Adam Fox or Drysdale, 1-for-1's not going to go through, is it? No, it's not. Oh, the joys of high-value guys. So if I use Slavin, I take back, as crazy as it sounds, Dustin Byfuglien for 1 year. We get Jamie Drysdale, though, in return. And I get a draft pick out of it as well. Say we use the second rounder next year. I doubt this goes through. And it didn't. But this doesn't seem like the worst trade in the world. If we can get it to go through. Drysdale would be a pretty damn good pickup for us. It's just how close can we get? Will that go through straight up? It won't. So now it becomes a little bit more of a risk. And again, if we get Byfuglien, that means both Fleury and Martin are gone for sure. But I want Drysdale. Get rid of a good defenseman now for a defenseman who should be good later. Also pick up Byfuglien, but I don't think it's going to work. I think Drysdale's going to be... he's going to be too damn expensive. So Drysdale is just flat out not in our price range, apparently. He's too damn good. And that complicates things just a little bit as far as who we're actually going to have available to us here, especially with the amount of players that we still have to trade. Had a feeling it would be a little bit more difficult than expected. Maybe we end up having to deal somebody that we didn't expect to have to get rid of. Victor Soderstrom in Colorado. I'm a little bit concerned that he's still, minor league top 6, but this is the type of team that we could perhaps use. Absolutely not. No, they're too stacked already. Connor Timmins ended up developing. We have fewer options than what I was hoping for. That is the only way to put it. Gudic, Brank, Erickson, and Mismash. So we go back to Detroit. I think Simon Robertson is going to be the next target. We have no good way to tell how Angelidis is going to be. But Simon Robertson right now is probably going to be our next target. That is, if Detroit needs a defenseman. And we'd probably have to use Adam Fox here because of their money issues. And I could barely make the justification. They do need another top 4 guy. They have DeKaiser. They have Gudis. That's a rough sell in terms of not screwing them over. However, Scandella and McIsaac are already in the minors, probably just because it's the preseason. I think I can justify it. It's a bit of a stretch, but I think I can justify it. So, say we use Adam Fox here instead. At the very least, we'll give him a younger defenseman. How close are we if we want to try to get a deal done here with Simon Robertson? There's no way a first will work, but I'll do it for the hell of it. Why the hell not? That doesn't go through, of course. A second rounder. Oh, menu lag. Come on, register. There you go. Second rounder. You know, it's a little bit more difficult to trade Adam Fox than I thought it was going to be. Will this go through? Still no. Jesus. We might not be able to get back any prospects at this point. We might just have to rely on picks. Okay, there we go. So we get Adam Fox out to Detroit in exchange for Simon Robertson and a 4th round pick. Not a bad way to go. The Red Wings get a defenseman that they can arguably use. And from there, we're pretty much good to go. We know that either Fleury or Martin needs to go. But from there, and I mean, Slavin still has to go too. And of course, Backstrom's already been dealt. Well, we're getting there. We're still not quite there, but we're getting there. As far as getting these deals done and getting this team set up. And of course, we'll have some maneuverability as far as draft picks are concerned. So, looking forward to that. Slavin still has to go. Not sure how we're going to pull that off. But Slavin has to go. So again, it's going to be Hamilton, Falk, Bean, Fabro, and then either Fleury or Martin. And I'm not sure. And it honestly depends on whether or not we have to take back another defenseman. Like a Bufflin, for example, as to whether or not we even make that decision of who we're keeping. Florida really had nobody interesting. LA didn't have anybody interesting. I think we're pretty much done in terms of this prospect, unless we talk to New Jersey here Luke Middlestat would have to be the target. He would have to be. He's the youngest. I know he's medium top 4. But Ty Smith at this point, with him being 21, I'm a little bit worried that he's not going to develop. And Tyconic, I can't say what his potential is. I don't know. So I think the ideal target here would be Luke Middlestat, and we just see if we can develop him. It's just whether or not New Jersey actually needs a defenseman. So let's take a look. Can we justify trading the Devils a defenseman? Again, it's a rough sell with Carrick and TBR. That's a rough sell. That's a rough one, man. I mean, you can kind of justify it, right? Like, we help carve out their top 4. Sure, it puts a Connor Carrick or a Mirko Mueller into a little bit of a rough spot. I wouldn't say it cripples them or really handicaps them in terms of what they can do. I mean, TVR will be up, Carrick will be up. They've already re-signed Will Butcher. I think we can kind of sort of justify it. Again, it's a little bit of a lean, slightly breaking the rules on this one. The shit thing is that the Devils have no first-round picks over the next 2 years. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that deal done for a 2024 first-rounder. I'm going to try, and it's going to go through. And there's a chance I just let myself get ripped off, but I don't really feel that way. Because there's no way Middlestat's that bad. There's no way. So, I mean, I've never seen that response before because of Fog of War being on, with the other GM basically saying, like, hey, your pro scouts are fucking stupid. I don't feel like we got that bad of a deal. We get rid of Slavin. We get Luke Hughes, or Luke Middlestat, I should say, who is a well-rounded prospect. And we get a first-round pick in 2024. Now, it is way down the road. Who knows? That could end up being a number 1 pick. And at the very least, it's a first-round pick a few years from now, and we'll see what becomes of it. So, a very interesting response from the AI, but I can't say that I hate that deal for us. I don't. I feel like we did relatively well, and in comparison, of course, with the 1 draft pick rule, I think it's fine. Time will tell with that one, right? It really does depend on how good of a pick that ends up being. So, time will tell on that one whether or not we just made a massive mistake. But at the end of the day, we pick up some prospects, which I'm feeling pretty good about. We pick up some draft picks. I think we did relatively well, but it's certainly a wait-and-see kind of deal. Now, again, as far as the team is set up here, I think our depth is looking fine. It's just, of course, we're going to need a 5th goaltender, and I still need to trade either Fleury or Byram, and I'm not sure who's going to get dealt. We're not in any cap trouble whatsoever, but one of those two has to go. I'm not against it being Hayden Fleury, but Luke Martin's probably going to want what Fleury's already making next year by the time it's done. He's saying low 4. I got to be honest, I think I'm going to keep Hayden Fleury, and we're going to drop Luke Martin. I'm going to stick with what we know, and we will see if there's a team with contract spots that need a defenseman, and we will be good to go and pretty much ready to begin this season finally. Philly, I mean, there's no way they're going to be able to make it work, right? And they don't. We already managed to see what they needed or not. Pittsburgh, not San Jose, is who I meant to look at. Penguins, you don't really need another defenseman, do you? You don't really. Tampa. Do you need a defenseman? Not really, unfortunately. Toronto. What do you got for us? Nothing. There's got to be a team that's hurting for defense. There always is. The AI don't exactly do a good job of balancing out their teams. There we go. Vancouver. The Couve. Did you need... okay, no, sweet. We don't even need to take anybody back. And I'll just look to get back to the best draft pick that we could. Second round of next year is highly unlikely. So it's probably just going to have to be a 3rd round pick of this year. We'll take the Vancouver 3rd this year. We're going to lose out on value, of course, but that's, well, it might be safer to package him with a pick and try to get that 2nd next year. Probably a safer bet. Martin in the 4th for a 2nd, just a bit low. So we use that 4th. And what about a 5th next year? What do you say? There we go. So we got a 2nd round pick next year from the Canucks for Luke Martin and picks. So we are looking pretty much good to go. I don't remember if I sent out an offer to a free agent goaltender. I do know, of course, that we're going to have to sign ourselves some defense. And again, forward-wise, we're looking good. Funny to have Eric Stahl back. It's 10, 11, 12. Okay, so I need probably one. I mean, I could just rely on the AHL team for the forward depth, just to see who we have there with those 12. So I'd say at the very least, at least one more good defenseman and a goaltender. And our depth is pretty much sorted, depending on who's already signed with the Charlotte Checkers under an AHL deal, of course. You know, the guys that we always end up taking out of the lineup. I also sent Brett Leeson an offer. Okay, so he was the only one. So let's see who we have available here. Minor league starters. Guys like Louis Domingue, Garrett Sparks, Joran Van Pottelberg would be an ELC. So that really wouldn't help. I could bring back Scott Darling for the memes. We could do that. Cal Peterson, John Gillies. I'm going to sign John Gillies. South Portland, Maine's own John Gillies. We'll sign him up. We need one more good defenseman. And I'd like for it to be Gendron, but that would technically be an ELC. So we're going to bring in Blake Siebenaler for a 1-year deal. He's managed to develop relatively well. And we're good for the moment until we see what we have in terms of AHL depth. So we'll hit sim the regular season. We'll wait to see when everyone signs. Gillies, Siebenaler, and Leeson. And let's take a look. Let's get the lineup set and get this season sim underway. So we are going to... Actually, I'm going to have probably Siebenaler be... We need one more defenseman at least. We need a little bit of depth just in case. And then forward-wise, 10, 11, 12, and then 13. So Cotton, Sorella will be the healthy scratches. And 10, 11, 12, 13 with Leeson. So let me double-check how many healthy scratches we have down in the AHL. If I go best lines there, all of those players. So we have this dude here, Nick Schilke. Schilke. I'm going with Schilke. And is he the only one? Luke Hedman is supposed to be in the lineup. Okay, so yeah, I need to sign some forward depth for sure. So we'll get Hedman in the lineup. And then defensively... okay, so for defensive depth, we're good. Luke Middlestad, scratch. Sanguinetti's there. So for defensive depth, we're fine. Dennis Robertson's not even supposed to be in, so... We're good on that front, but signing 1 or 2 half-decent forwards. And then, of course, for the goaltending depth, we're fine. So let's actually go make those signings before we finalize this lineup. We do need probably 2 half-decent depth forwards. We have $16 million in space as well. We're in a pretty damn good spot. We have a competitive team. We have cap space. I'm not complaining by any stretch of the imagination. We will sign one Peter Holland to help lead the way. And from there, it's kind of a toss-up. Who's the name that I like is pretty much what we're looking at. Taylor Lear's been a long-time channel legend. Tyrell Goulbourne. Beautiful. A set plan legend. We'll sign Goulbourne. And one more. Ryan Carpenter. Ryan Carpenter. Channel legend from earlier this year with Vegas. Then defensively, we're fine outside of needing one more half-decent option. It's not going to be Gendron. So whoever we sign here will play in the AHL, and Siebenaler will be our healthy scratch. Samantha, Luke Shen, Tim Heed, oh boy, Devon Taves, Trevor Carrick. When in doubt, bring back Trevor Carrick. You're still friends with people on this team, aren't you? I can't see. He's got to still be friends with somebody on this team. We'll bring him back again, and that should bump up the morale for some people. And with that, finally, I think this roster would be set. A lot's happened without us simming a single regular season game, as everybody has accepted. Let's finally finalize these rosters for the season. But so many things have happened. Backstrom's gone, Slavin, Fox, Laurent Brossois, of course. The team's changed quite a bit. But again, we're good on that front. The defense is going to be set once we bump up Blake Siebenaler. And again, we have our main 6 there, and then forwards are set. So let's take a look at what we're beginning this season like. So it will be... we got to make sure Luotstarainen's in. So I think, who was better last year? Sorella. 42 points in 76 games in the AHL. David Cotton, 24 points last year. He's going to get the opportunity. We're going to go ahead and start Luotstarainen. Sorella will be the healthy scratch. And then again, it'll be Geeky, Luotstarainen, and Cotton. And I think, I'm not sure who the better center is. We'll say it's actually Cotton to start. That'll be the 4th line. I still think it's going to be better to bump up Eric Stahl to 2nd line center. So we'll go with Niederreiter, Eric Stahl, Andrei Svechnikov. we'll go Jamie Whitfield, Jordan Staal, and Julien Gauthier. So that's center depth, in theory, on paper, it's looking pretty damn good. And then we could go Aho on the left, Dubois and Teravainen, which is not a bad top line. We'll see who has the better face-offs between Aho and Dubois as we go throughout the year. And then I think it might be for the best. I'm not entirely sure here. It's interesting that it has Siebenthaler in over Fleury. But we'll have Byram Fleury, of course. I'm just wondering if we break up Bean and Fabro, right? Like, maybe we go Hamilton and Fabro, Bean and Falk. Might be a decent way to do it. And then again, the big wild card this year as to whether or not we're getting back into the playoffs is Alex Nedeljkovic out of nowhere kind of forced our hand. He's going to be the starter this year. Not entirely sure what to expect out of him. And of course, with Fog of War, we don't have a complete picture with what this team is this year, at least not yet. So it's going to be interesting in the early stages of this season to see how this goes down, as we need Drury, Hedman, and Beecher to be in this lineup. So fortunately for the majority of the guys we just signed, they are going to be top-notch depth, at least until we see for sure what we have with these prospects. They're going to get every opportunity to succeed. So those will be the forwards to start the year. Defensively, again, Dennis Robertson will take a seat, and it will be Luke Mittelstadt who gets the chance, and Trevor Carrick will be in that lineup by default. Goaltenders, Scott and Makaniemi. I don't know, maybe I'm a bit too optimistic. I'm not entirely sure. I think maybe I could be, but I'm feeling pretty good about the way this team is set up right now. I mean, granted, we felt good about them last year. Never would have expected us to miss the playoffs, as disappointing as that was. But hopefully this is going to prove to be a very interesting year for us. Now, before we get to the goal of the season, don't worry, I didn't forget. I do want to take a look at the leadership group, as Justin Falk has a letter, which is fine. And I got to be honest, Sebastian, I'm not sure about you being captain. I know it'd be a little bit controversial and disrespectful and almost not worth it. But I'm taking the letter off of Aho, and we're giving Eric Staal an alternate, at least. And we're going to run without a captain. Actually, you know what? Screw it. Eric Staal, you're back. You're the captain. Eric Staal being given the C. I'm sorry, Sebastian. I know that's needlessly wasting morale, although there was no complaint about it, so we have that going for us. But Eric Staal, back in Carolina, damn it, he's the captain. That's just how it works. And then down in the AHL, I don't even know why I care, but I do. And I'm going to go ahead and make Trevor Carrick the captain of the team. And you know what? Actually, Quokkanen, and let's go with Philippe as the leadership core. There we go. So, with the team set, I don't think we have anything else to do. I'm pretty sure our scouts were set up. If not, and I forgot to do it, then damn it. I absolutely didn't remember to set those up. Alright, jump cut. Alright, scouting is taken care of, and with that, we can finally get to the goals for the season. I was going to say goal for the season, but there are goals, and it comes from the same comment. Credit to the incredible Jew for being smart enough to put both suggestions in the same comment, because it ended up being the most thumbs up. So as a result, with the exception of trading Jake Bean, here's what we're doing for the year. The goal for the team is simple. Make the playoffs. If we fail, our free pick goes to an extra goalie, which might not be the worst thing in the world. Time will tell. For the player challenge this year, back-to-back years where Sebastian Aho will be the featured player. However, this year, the stakes are much, much higher than just having to draft a certain player. If Sebastian Aho does not better his point total by 15, he will be traded, which, again, you look at that contract, the years left, I think it would be relatively devastating to lose Sebastian Aho. Can he hit 66 points in a season? I don't know. And I gotta be honest, I'm starting to wonder if this might be a bit too much to ask for. Granted, we want him to step up and be a true top liner, and 66 points should be within his wheelhouse, but I don't know if he's going to hit that. We've simmed 3 years. He's a 50-point guy thus far. The only thing that could help it is if he is set to a two-way, making him a playmaker might be the way to do that, and then maybe have Dubois as the two-way power forward on the line, and then Teravainen. I mean, hell, maybe having Aho as the sniper. If Teravainen, and you know what, I think at the very least we have to take a look, right? I mean, granted, talk about proper balance, whether or not it does anything, but at the very least, if we can make sure or do everything within our ability, within our power to do this, then we have to do what we have to do. And if we look at this team right now, Aho is a two-way, Dubois is a power forward, which I don't necessarily disagree with, and I imagine we have Teravainen as a playmaker. We do. So I think at the very least, we're going to change a few things around, and I'll probably just set Aho to be a left-wing sniper by default. I think we'll move him back to center if he proves to have better face-offs than Dubois. That's an easy fix. But we'll move him to a left wing. That'll, of course, affect like the best lines, the 4-on-4 lines and stuff like that. Dubois is fine as a power forward. I might change around some player types once we have full info on these guys. But for now, let's at least change around the positions. I didn't even think I was going to necessarily have to do this year, but it makes sense at least. We'll move Whitfield to a left wing, and we'll get to moving these players around. That way, again, the power play, the penalty kill, and the 4-on-4 lines are good to go. And at the very least, I think it really only matters for those guys here, although Niederreiter needs to be moved around to a left wing spot. We're already here. We might as well do it, at least this way too. You guys can see exactly what we're changing. Again, more things will probably change in terms of player types, just optimizing based off of players' attributes, which, to be honest, I think is something that should happen automatically anyway. Players should, player types should be decided by the attributes, not just what is randomly assigned to them. But, the stalls there, Sorela's good. We'll have, let's go Luotstarainen. Actually, Luotstarainen, no, he wasn't a healthy scratch. He was on the fourth line. We'll move him to a left wing, Geeky to a right wing. And then we're pretty much good to go. We'll just double check the NHL lines yet again, reset them to what we had them to. And hopefully, Sebastian Aho can put up some points this year, because if he does not, we're going to be trading him. Now, here's the thing. All it says is trade him to the Pacific. So, I mean, at least I can get a fair return somewhat, but that doesn't mean we would get an ideal return if we had to get rid of him. I mean, if we have to trade him to a team that doesn't exactly have anything that lines up for us, I mean, again, that's going to be a draft pick and a prospect where we hope for the best. It's not an ideal situation by any stretch of the imagination, but we are looking good to go with the exception of Sorela. Got to bring in David Cotton. And then defensively, like I said, I think I want to split up those two. Take out Blake Siebenaller. He must be higher rated, even though he's a depth option, than Hayden Fleury, as weird as that is. And then power play-wise, Aho's on the top power play. Is he on the 4-on-4? He is. Is he on the penalty kill? He's not, but that's okay. Hopefully Sebastian Aho can do something this season. So the team challenge is simple. Make the playoffs. For the player challenge, though, that's the big one. I mean, again, having to take an extra goalie in the draft, that's fine. Having to trade Sebastian Aho, that could be extremely devastating. Now, as far as how we start this season, I think it's going to be a very big indication as to how we're going to do this year in general. You look at Season 2, where we weren't expecting to do all that well, and we went on an absolute tear. And then Season 3, we didn't exactly start off on the hottest of notes, and we didn't make the playoffs. So the first few months here, especially this opening month, going to be very telling. As you would expect, that's a fairly obvious thing to say. It's going to be very telling in terms of how well we do this season. But especially, too, Nedeljkovic, the defense has changed a lot. I mean, you look at the out-of-nowhere... Wow, Keith Yandle's cheap at this point. You look at the out-of-nowhere addition of a Bowen Byram, for example, or a Dante Fabro, who was never supposed to be a part of this team, was never a part of the plans, and it just kind of happened. We just kind of needed Fabro, so we picked him up. It was, it made sense to get him in the deal, as we get to see here. So Aho's an 89. He has 3 points in 7 games. 6 points for Dubois. Only 3 points for Teravainen. Okay, let's at least swap them around. I'm already worried. And I don't know, man. That Aho ask might be too damn big. Eric Stahl is only an 81. 4 points for Svechnikov. Right. Whitfield has 4 goals. So that third line's doing pretty damn well outside of Julien Gauthier. And you could argue between Eric and Jordan who should be leading the way. And then fourth line, Luetz-Derainen, Cotton, and Morgan Geekie. Defensively, Fabro's an 84. Only has 1 point this year. You have Hamilton, Bean, and Falk. And then Byram is an 80. Hayden Fleury is actually down to a 79. That would explain it. Nedeljkovic is an 84. It is killing it thus far. And then Spencer Knight, who just picked up a little bit of an injury, is also there. Interesting, at least. Still the early stages. I don't think going through the opening month of the season and having certain players underperforming is going to be an extreme detriment to us. I think we'd be able to overcome any of those issues, thankfully. I do not want another defenseman, and I should certainly clear out the trade block because we're just getting bombarded with offers for defensemen. So we're 6-3, 3-0 shutout loss to Nashville, a loss to Florida. Can we beat Pittsburgh at least to end things on a high note? We cannot. So the record was looking good. We do lose 3 straight games. The Charlotte Checkers are killing it to start, but a 6-5 beginning to this season. Currently in a tie right now. We're way behind Philly though because of the amount of games that we've played. I guess the question is, oh boy, how is this team looking? So Teravainen, 5 assists. 8 points for Dubois, 5 points for Aho in 11 games. I gotta be honest. I can't help but think that goal for the season might be a little bit too much to ask. Like, that might be out of the realm of realism. I'm not against sticking to it. I'm really not, because, hey, if Aho can't produce like that, then I don't want to be paying him top line salary anyway. It's just very disappointing that he has been unable to produce. I mean, even as a sniper, you could argue as a playmaker. Again, he fits sniper, playmaker, or two-way build, no problem. I don't know. Also, he is better suited on the wing compared to Dubois. Dubois has the best face-offs on that line. And we look here as well. Again, I think the one issue that we're having right now is for the second line, it almost makes no sense to go out and acquire anybody because Whitfield's going to be ready. But finding a rental who could play on that second line rather than Eric Stahl might not be the worst-case scenario. Middle six production could be a pretty big question mark this year. But I think for now, our best bet's just to sit back and wait to see what happens. And then down in the AHL for the hell of it, Scott's an 80, Makaniemi's a 78, and then forward-wise, Philippe's at an 80, Brett Leeson's a 79, it's not too bad. Zimmer's a straight-up 80, Beecher's a 73, Turcotte's a 78 at 20 years old, not bad. Robertson, 74 overall at 18 years old, not a bad pickup. Not a bad pickup at all. I don't regret that move. Luke Henman's a 72. Quokinen a 78. Good old Lenny Killinen. We don't know how good he is yet. Stelio's a 75. Drury. And then Guru at a 73. The defense. So Romanov's a 79. It's not too bad. Sal's a 78. Middlestad's only a 66. And again, they had him signed. I probably wouldn't have signed him, but they already had him signed. You got Carrick, Robertson, and Hartman at a 69. Very nice. I think we're going to stop it there because I do want your opinions about the Aho deal and what else could potentially be done to set us up. We're listed as hopefuls. I genuinely feel as though we're a little bit better than that. I mean, sure, second line center, little bit of a weakness. Not going to deny that. But the good thing is right now we are set up for success at the very least in the future. I mean, again, if we lose Sebastian Aho, we're not in the worst spot because at the very least, by according to the goal for the season, I'll be able to get fair value back or at least something close. And with the moves that we've made here, we've picked up some prospects, we've picked up some draft picks. I think draft pick wise, we're set up very well. I mean, goaltending-wise, I mean, we have one season of Nedeljkovic, and then Spencer Knight's going to take over, and our goalie problem is, I mean, we're going with Knight for the next few years. But, I mean, 2 second-round picks. You know, the draft pick situation might not be amazing this year. We have the extra second next year, and then down the road, 2024, who the hell knows what that New Jersey first-round pick is going to become. Not often I end up trading for picks that far down the road, but we're in a pretty good spot. But obviously the goal for this year is simple. Make the playoffs. What do you guys think as to whether or not we're actually going to make it there? And of course, whether or not anything should be done. How much time do we give to Eric Stahl? Maybe we wait to see if we're competitive, and if we are, and we're going to, compete for a playoff spot, then we go out and get somebody better. Numerous things could be done. Not the best start to the season, but needless to say, the pressure's on for one Sebastian Aho to deliver. We are done here for now, though. I thank you guys very much for watching. You know the deal with the video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like. Help the channel. Play that stupid YouTube game for me because, Lord knows I hate asking you to do it. Check out everything in the description if you haven't already. Links, of course, to the Twitters, to the everythings. I will see you guys next time. Until then, have a good one. Take it easy. And hope to God Sebastian Aho turns into a 66-point guy.